And hello, welcome back to MechaCon. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome this esteemed panelist to the conversation here. I am Vic Dandridge, the hardest working man in comics, and welcome to our first Filmmakers series for MechaCon 2020. We're going to have everyone introduce themselves, and we'll start with Yolanda, if you don't mind.
Hi, I am Yolanda Ross. I'm an actress on the show The Shy, and I'm a writer-director. I'm currently working on a film called Scenes from Our Marriage, and that's it.
Excellent, excellent. Dehanza.
Hi, my name is Dehanza Rogers. I'm a writer-director. I'm also a professor at Emory University, and I am working on a film called #Black Girlhood.
Can't wait, can't wait. Shawn.
What's going on, y'all? I'm Shawn Antoine II. I'm a filmmaker from Harlem, New York, and currently I'm working on my first feature documentary called The Black Democrat. I've been following a politician since the beginning of this year, running for office in my neighborhood of Harlem. So yeah, that's what I'm working on, and just constantly shooting up until November 3rd.
I love it, I love it. Solomon.
Hi, everyone. My name is Solomon Onita. I'm from Dallas, Texas, or I'm from Houston, Texas, but currently living in Dallas. I just finished my debut feature film called Tasmanian Devil. I was accepted into the Warner Brothers TV directing program, so I'm starting a television career right now too.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so jumping right into this, independent film seemed like a freedom from studio control and interference, but Black independent film can carry the weight of social responsibility. How do you maintain the creative edge with the stories that you tell in that light? And I'll start with Solomon.
What was the second part of that question?
How do you maintain your creative edge, recognizing that you might have a social responsibility by being a Black independent filmmaker?
To me, I feel like it's a balance. There is a social responsibility, but then it's also entertainment and business. So I feel like if you can walk the line and try to portray elements in real life and within our society to meet that standard, but then also try to entertain, that's probably the best way to go about it within independent film. Although within independent film, you have more control because it's independent. You're not really under a big studio or a big type of network. But I feel like you still have to think economically about some of the decisions that you're making.
Excellent, excellent. Yolanda?
Yeah, I feel the same way. In my case, I feel like because of the stories that I come up with, I feel it doesn't matter what it is. There's something that's going to be relevant to us. You know, I feel like I am writing from a Black woman's point of view, no matter what. So that part of the, filmmaking or taking care of us, putting stories out for us that's just what I do. The other part, as far as the business part, I feel like no matter what, I'm always thinking in that way, because there's so many holes to be filled, gaps for us, things that, we don't get to see ourselves in. So there's always a place for them, and making them economically, making them, where there should be some form of a profit, making them so that they will sell. That's always the way I'm looking at it.
Well said, well said. Shawn?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Yolanda said. As basically about like the perspective thing, already as us as filmmakers, our art is a reflection of our view of the world and how we see things. So I think for us as Black filmmakers, we're also, providing that context of this is what we see on a daily basis. This is what we may experience. So I think for us as independent filmmakers, we're getting, the most direct and most uncensored point of views that, you can't really get out of studio films a lot of the time. So for us as independent filmmakers, that's our opportunity to show what we see, how we feel, and those things.
I love that. Dehanza?
I agree with everyone. I feel the struggle starts where the story has to be nuanced. How do you bring in those issues? Because if you start with the issue and then try to craft a story around it, there's a struggle there. It's like painting yourself into a corner. And that's what I've experienced, at least, where the story is first boy meets girl, and then how does the world interact with that boy and that girl, opposed to, I'm going to tell about, a story about systemic racism. Yeah, but it's going to enact upon these people within their lives and their love or whatever. So I find that to be the biggest challenge for me. Instead of trying to tell a story about one specific injustice, like how does it fit into our lives? And the business stuff is, it's the same thing, where you still have to make a profit for people, if not for other people, but for yourself, right? You have to make content that not just Black folks are going to see, but other people are going to see as well, because they connect with the story you're trying to tell, not just about being Black, right? Being Black is definitely a part of it, but we are telling a larger story as well.
Well said. Very well said. And I'm going to stick with you, Dehanza. Considering the presumptions about what it means to be a Black independent filmmaker, why is this your outlet for creativity? Why did you choose this?
Well, I used to be the girl with the camera when I was in college and undergrad, and I worked at the paper, and I was always taking pictures, and I thought, well, this is what I can do as a Black woman, because I've seen Black photographers. I always wanted to do film, but I thought, well, we don't make films. Black women don't do that. And then I saw Daughters of the Dust, and I was like, shit, we make those films. We make amazing films. And these people sound like my people. They eat the same things like people eat. So that's always what I wanted to do. But I felt like, I couldn't because I didn't see it. Right. And this is I tell my students this all the time. Being a filmmaker, being on set is the best thing I've ever done. Like, when I think of all the jobs I've ever had in different industries, being on set where my AD and all the people I'm working with create a safe space, holy shit. Like, that is the best moment those days on set are the best moments I've ever had.
I love that. I love that. Yolanda?
What was the question?
I mean, obviously you as a multifaceted creative, acting and writing and all those things, why be an independent, filmmaker? Why did that, strike you as something that you wanted to do?
Well, I mean, my whole start in this industry was independent film. So it was and still is the medium that speaks to me. Even though I'm heavily into television and some into theater, to me, I like the space of going away with your tribe, your crew, creating something, putting in those, 15 to 30 days, making something. And then I like all the steps, after that in making a film, the editing, the music, the scoring, like all of that. I love all the aspects of it. With TV, it's, it's different. It's somebody else's medium, it's the networks, it's the producers. It's not yours as one contained unit. So I do appreciate independent film for that, where you can get out a truthful voice with the people you want to do it with.
I love that. I love that. Solomon.
I feel like with independent film, more so than in other mediums, it really allows you to get a message out. Kind of going back to your last question. For me personally, as being a first generation American, I like bringing the dynamics of, where my parents are from, Nigeria, and where I was born in America. I like bringing the dual aspects of that to cinema and showing people a different perspective. And within independent cinema, there is a clear avenue for that, because you can raise money yourself and portray that. As I try to enter into television or do studio films, that's still my perspective when I enter those places, but I don't have the same kind of control as I do within independent cinema. So that's my approach. That's why I like being an independent filmmaker, is because I can show that dualism.
I love that. I love that. Shawn?
Yeah, for me, as an independent filmmaker, I remember when I first was starting off, I really didn't know why I loved doing it. But I remember I got invited to Nate Parker's summer film program, and he said, the biggest thing and why we do this, and even his purpose behind it was, being able to control the narrative, how we're portrayed on screen, the type of messages we're sending out. And I think for me, the reason why I love being a filmmaker and even an independent filmmaker is the fact that I'm able to, you know, put out these different messages through my art. And yeah, I would say that's what attracted me to filmmaking, and not just narrative, but also documentaries as well. Because, you know, as soon as we step out into like this, you know, narrative scripted kind of world, we also have so many realities to touch on too that haven't even been shown on screen. So like for me, being an independent filmmaker, it gives me that opportunity to give people an insight of what's happening and whatnot as well.
I love that. As a creative, I'm very curious for each of you how you approach the idea of the reception or the expected reception in terms of what stories you tell. Are there any stories that you've shied away from due to the sensitivities that you think other people might, you know, respond to? And Shawn, if you don't mind starting with that.
Yeah, I would say for me personally, I started off in like a documentary background. So, you know, it's a lot more just realism, what's happening. And I would say it was a point where now, and you know, this very sensitive climate of everything happening, you want to make sure you're saying the right things. You might be saying the wrong things. But then I saw another filmmaker recently say how he's not afraid to put out these different characters because these are many people's truths. Right. And for me personally, as a filmmaker now, as I'm, you know, evolving and moving forward, I have to, you know, not be so weary and afraid to show these different types of people on screen, because this is what a lot of people can connect with and even relate to. So.
Well said. Well said. Solomon.
I've never been afraid to show anything in my work. There's some things that I take precaution of in like how I show it, so it could be more digestible. But if there's something that I feel I need to express, then I just find a digestible way to show it. Like I shot a film called Joy about female circumcision. That's kind of a taboo topic. It's not something that people would like to see often. So I just found a narrative way. You know, I used thriller as a genre in order to kind of tell that story. So that's my approach to something like that.
Well done. Well done. Dehanza?
I feel like it's research. If I understand the topic well enough, I'm confident enough to tell the story through that lens. I made a film some years ago called Sweet Sweet Country. It was a short film, and it eventually ended up on PBS and then on YouTube. And I got it was about a Somali woman, and I got a lot of comments from Somalians. And one thing that really I remember a lot is one person said, that name is not a Somali name. And I was like, I know, but I really wanted to use this name. And then the person said, our names are all we got. Like, you can't change our names. And I was, you know, and she was completely right. And I stepped back for a moment and I thought about that comment. And every time I do something now, I try to bring that criticism to the lens where it's like, yeah, you have a perspective, but what's the perspective of the person you're trying to tell the story about, right? So I try to reach out to as many people as possible that the stories are crafted around, and just do research and have full conversations. So I am confident enough to say, I'm telling this story. It may not be my background, but I've talked to enough people that I feel confident enough to share that background.
Well said. Very well said. Yolonda?
Well, I was really interested in what she was just saying. I mean, because that is really, you know, that's a really interesting topic and note, you know, to take as a filmmaker, and just, you know, just in thought, you know, because people do, especially these days, respond to what you're doing in like immediately because of the internet. So, yeah, wow, great, Dehanza. But for me, oh man, I got lost again. What's the question? I
No.
I get like so caught up in like everybody else's thing.
This is where we are right now. I totally understand. No, are there stories that you shy away from, or okay? No.
I don't shy away from any stories. I feel, you know, because I feel there are things that come to me, and they come to me for a reason. So, you know, looking back at my career, I feel I'm put here to bring to life people that you don't necessarily like all the time, or you don't get to know, or you don't take time to know, or people that just get overlooked. I feel that, you know, for me, what I will say, what I won't do is take a stereotype. If
Okay.
you know, it can be a stereotype on the surface, but you have got to have it written to where we see the other side, the whole person, you know, inside and out. How did they get to where you're now showing them? So no, I don't deal with stereotypes. That's what I won't take.
I respect that very much. So, considering your work on the Shy, even is there any sort of stories that are immediately popping up to you as inspiration that are dealing with the day to day, inspired by the realm that is 2020, COVID-19, the political structure? Are there any stories that are immediately hitting you right now as an inspiration?
Yeah, you mean like in real life
Yes.
stuff that's happening right now.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, I thought of things even just before this, as far as, being a woman and my character on the show working at a place that's like a Planned Parenthood. You know, Planned Parenthood is going through hell right now, and
Mhm.
has been going through hell, and women's rights are up for debate somehow. So,
Right.
that's a thing in itself. Um, and a lot of times I feel like we always see white women dealing with that, but Black women are right there too. We're women. So that's something that I would like to see get played out somehow, to see us in that fight or up against something, in that way. Um, I mean, all day and night, the police brutality is an issue. And in an odd way, it's like I know it's there. We all know it's there. But
Mhm.
sometimes I personally get tired of seeing it in movies because there's so many other aspects to us that
Right.
it's unfortunate that this crap keeps happening where people kind of only know us for certain things and it's always something negative.
Mhm.
Um, but we do have to, put it out there to show just how bad it is, you know, on a daily
Of course.
basis.
Of course. Deanna, do you have anything that you want to add to that in terms of day-to-day inspired new works?
Yeah, one thing that has inspired me that's kind of related to the project, well, is related to the project I'm working on, is how the inequity of technology when it comes to schools online, right? Where you have these teachers telling kids, you have to wear this, you have to have your shoes off while you're on the Zoom call, you can't do this, you can't do that, it has to be a quiet space. A lot of people don't have a quiet space in their home. A
Right.
lot of people live, as a teenager, I'm taking care of my younger siblings. Like, you're making assumptions about my space and my social economics and everything. And that's a problem. I saw a photo of these kids in a Taco Bell parking lot so that they can use
Mhm.
the internet, so that they can do their homework or be on their Zoom call. And that's what we're not really thinking about. You have white parents who are doing pandemic pods where, they're using their money to hire their own teacher for their kids in their space. So I think that's something I've really been interested in. Another thing is, like, a uplifting thing is, a lot of Black women are out there creating community and
Mhm.
telling stories, as well as talking about research and what it means to be Black during this time and all this other stuff. And I really love these Zoom conferences that are happening where I would never have had the opportunity to go to any of them. So the fact that community is being built like this is really something I've really been thinking about. And, like, how can I tell that story? Or do I want to be a
Oh,
part of that story?
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Fellas, I'm sorry, I got to follow both of those up. Solomon, we'll start with you.
I guess for me, I've been interested in how can I tell stories that are outside of what mainstream media or what the film industry wants
Mhm.
to show Black people as. Like, I'm interested in like a Black universe that has stories that are outside of kind of like what Yolanda was saying, that's outside of police, harassing Black people and those type of stories, the slave stories and stuff like that. I'm interested in showing, Black scientists and Black astronauts and stuff like that, so people can see the different aspects of like what African American life is all about.
Well said. Very well said. Shawn.
Yeah, for me, like I said earlier, I've been working on a documentary and everything. But I would say I was reading a story maybe last week about all the fires out in California and, like, the northwest part of the United States. But I saw that a lot of firefighters, I guess, that were in
Mhm.
prison and whatnot. I was like, this is an interesting story. And then you saw some of the images in Oregon of like everything being red, and more than those those visuals and everything, those people have a story. And the fact that they're fighting wildfires, they're in this crazy time, they're in a pandemic, and they're incarcerated, earning maybe I think $5 a day. I feel like there's a story worth telling there. And even more than it being just a pandemic, you have the fires that people have never really seen before at this magnitude, I would say, as far as the sky changing. And just these people that are just hoping for another opportunity at life, changing their lives. And, I definitely think that's something I definitely want to dive into and just do a little bit more research on possibly.
Well said. Well said. Shawn, I'm going to stick with you. What do you think are the remaining boundaries or barriers for independent filmmaking? Do they exist anymore? Have we reached a place where anyone and everyone can?
Yeah, I think, and I talk to my friends about this, the problem with filmmaking in general is, one, I feel like for African-American filmmakers, just Black filmmakers in general, there's a lack of education. I feel like that's a big barrier that a lot of like my white counterparts and friends, they're able to go to film school. They've been, they have parents that are producers, writers, even remotely close to the entertainment industry. But so many of my friends in my community, that's, it's kind of pushed away now. There's a lack of funding for, creatives in schools. And I think that's the next step. We have to start educating people on the industry, how to get involved, more than just being a writer, director, being on sets, working in sound and all these other things. So I think the more we educate people on how to get involved in this industry, then the more we'll see more writers, we'll see more directors, we'll see more executives. So
wonderful, wonderful. Yolanda, can you add to that? Are there any more boundaries?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely boundaries. I mean, it's everything that Shawn said is very true and necessary. There are more jobs than just being the actor, because everybody does want to be in front of the camera, but there's so many jobs where we need those people behind the camera. The other thing is, independent film is not just films that you can finance yourself. I have a $2 million independent film, which I can't just bankroll, so it's then getting people to actually want to see characters that are not those stereotypes, those ones that we've seen a million times before, and then selling them on this project. Black love isn't necessarily something that a lot of people are putting money towards. Dramas are not, especially not Black dramas. So, I mean, that's a nonstop fight. And if it's from the woman's point of view, and a woman director,
right,
that's an uphill battle. So yeah, that's a nonstop fight.
Solomon, what about you?
I agree with what has been said. I feel like education is the main thing. The industry is not an easy place to kind of get into. So if we want to see more Black influence in it, it needs to be a place to where us that are in it need to reach down and educate the younger generation on like what I do and like what happens on a film set and what happens outside of a film set, and keep on educating. So in order to bring our influence towards the next generation, and as it evolves, there'll be more of our influence in cinema.
I love that. Dehanza?
Agree with everything. I think also it's a question of changing the culture, because you have people, I see on forums all the time where someone's asking, I'm looking for a Black woman cinematographer. And someone, mostly white dudes, will say, well, that's racism or that's discrimination. That you can't specifically say you want a Black person to do something. Bruh, you've been doing it your whole life, where when we talk about cinematographer, default is white. Now we're trying to say Black somebody, you get mad? Like, really? Come on. We're not taking anything from you. We're trying to just be part of the story. And I think that's where it needs to change. I mean, I agree about, access to universities and to resources. That definitely is important. But it's also about changing the culture of everyone talking about how, well, now it's so hard to be a white guy. Really? Not hard to be a white guy. Stop. You just mad because other people want to, equality feels like oppression when,
right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think it's about, the culture, changing people's mind and letting, teaching them that everyone can be a part of this. It's not just y'all.
I love that. Do you have a favorite part of the filmmaking process? And Dehanza, we'll stay with you.
Oh man. I hate writing because it's like this solitary thing you do by yourself. And then you're like sending it off to people. Can I get notes back? I love directing. I like working with actors. I like the collaborative process. I feel like my biggest collaborator on set is my cinematographer though. I have one that I usually work with, and we don't talk on set. Like, we spend so much time in pre-pro, reading scripts, having dinner, everything. And I like the pre-pro process a lot in those conversations with my collaborators. And then, only having to deal with story and actors, and really, if it's a great actor, you're collaborating with that person. It's like, you have better ideas than me. This is amazing. So, I mean, I'll always get the credit, but I mean, that process is really great.
Well said. Well said. Yolanda?
I agree. I really like pre-production because you get to hear all the different groups' thoughts, and you get to get yours out, and you see them and share them and bounce them with these people. I also really like editing because you get to see what everybody did, because being like the actor and director most times in my things, it's like I'm in it, and it's like I'm switching my head into different areas. So when I'm acting, I'm a little bit directing, but I've already done all of that in pre-production, what I need to see. So other people are kind of backing me up, but it's the editing where you get to see what everybody has done, and it's amazing.
When it all comes together, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Solomon, what about you?
I like shaping the story. So writing is a big thing for me, and then editing, because those are where I feel if I can put my hands on it, I can really shape how this is going to be perceived. So, those two things. And production is another thing too, because I just love the community aspect of production. But my favorites is writing and editing.
That's fantastic. Shawn?
Yeah, for me, I think it's the post-production side of it. Especially at the beginning of everything, when you're alone writing and you're constantly stuck looking at the same story over and over. I love the fact that even in post, I can do maybe sometimes the most subtle adjustments, but sometimes the most dramatic ones with other collaborators to get a different perspective on the story I'm trying to tell. And for me, most of the time, that's made my stories even better. So yeah, it's definitely the post-production side of it.
I have to give you all props for the notion of being able to relinquish control, even in the independent setting, and ask for feedback, and really looking forward to that. Is that something that's built over time, or is that just a part of the process? And Shawn, if you want to jump on that one.
Yeah, I mean, for me at first, as an independent filmmaker, I was doing a lot of doc stuff. I was editing, doing everything on my own. But as I wanted to do a lot more stuff, I knew I couldn't do everything by myself. So it came like, all right, if I want to do this, then I need to ask people for help. So I guess it came over time.
Okay. Yolanda?
Since I started in film, that's just how I know it to be. But it's also what I really love about it is that you're not doing everything by yourself. You have this family of people all pushing forward to make this thing, the best that we all can. So I love that aspect of it.
Respect. Solomon?
The question is about collaboration, right?
Yeah, finding that sense of confidence that you can collaborate comfortably and not ever feel like, you're not standing on your own, or your ideas are getting attacked. Is that something that is natural, or you have to build up to that?
I think in production is natural for me. I struggle in collaboration when it comes to writing because I want to put my vision on the page so much. And I feel like, I get notes and I accept notes, but it's something that I have to work on. But okay. I'm very collaborative during production.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Yeah, as long as you're willing to work for it, that's all.
Yeah.
Dehanza?
It's definitely something I had to work on. My first year in film school, I just knew I was right. Like, you have to let that ego go. And once you learn how to let that ego go, and you realize that people have better ideas than you. And that's the thing, right? You hire people around you that are smarter than you, and they know their field really well. So my production designer knows exactly what should be in this space opposed to the idea that I had, okay, I'm totally okay with somebody else bringing the idea to me if it's a better idea. Working with actors, same thing. I'm not, if they're reading the script and they change the words, but the intent is the same, I'm totally okay with that. I used to be like, no, those aren't the words on the page. Now it's like, you said that so much better than I had it written. Thank you. And then I'll take credit for it. That, you know, but collaborating is just, it makes the art better. You serve the story when you allow other people to bring what they can to the table.
Beautiful. So you're not a dictator on any sort of production side, and that's fantastic. And it kind of segues perfectly to where I want to go next. If you were speaking to your younger self figuratively or almost literally by those that are coming up behind you, what's one piece of advice or something that you wish you understood better sooner? And Dehanza, what
I think I would say no to things. And I realized that was based in fear. That wasn't based in me wanting to do things. So I really felt like I needed to, and I would tell my younger self, don't be afraid to say yes to things that you really want to say yes to because of the fear. I think
we got it awesome. Yeah. We're still live.
Oh.
Well, Yolanda, you should go.
All right. I'll go. I'll just pretty much everything you said, and then just you know, stay true to yourself. Don't do something that you question, you know, or feel leery about doing. If you don't feel it, don't do it. The power in no is for real, but also know that everything that makes you, pump that, you know, push forward with it because it makes you different than everyone else.
For me, what I'll tell my younger self is kind of be consistent and be patient, because it's a long road to kind of get to where you see yourself or where the idealism is. And so that's something I struggle with. Like, oh,
we kept it moving.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you so very much for that. I do apologize. So who was answering?
Solomon.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just saying, younger me was kind of impatient a lot. So the advice I'll tell my younger self would be to stay consistent and to stay patient, because things will unfold. If you keep on putting the work in, if you keep on honing your talent, it will manifest. So that's my message to like anybody younger or to my younger self.
Well said.
Yeah. I would say to my younger self, I would tell myself, just keep taking risks. Trial and error is how you'll get much better in this industry. Like, you know, the more you do, the more you'll learn. And then I would tell myself, keep rolling the camera. You can cut and edit all in post-production, but just keep the camera rolling. You'll catch a lot better moments, and yeah, your story will come together even better in post.
I love that. As we are getting ready to wrap up, what are you working on next, and where can people find you out in the social media world? Shawn, we'll start with you.
Yeah, you can find me on social media, on all socials at Shawn Antoine II. I'm currently working on my first feature documentary. Like I said, I've been filming throughout this whole year through the pandemic. Hopefully later next year we'll have film festivals back in person so I could submit for those. And yeah, just working on developing my last short film into a feature as well. So just trying to constantly put the work in during these crazy times so that I'll be ready for the future.
Excellent. And where can we find you on social?
At Shawn Antoine II. How it's spelled out.
Okay,
wonderful. Solomon.
I'm at Solomon Onita Jr. on all socials. Working on next. Tasmanian Devil has not released yet, so people will be able to see that next year when it comes out. And then I'm still writing for my sophomore feature.
Stellar. Love that. Yolanda?
I am working on a feature called Scenes from Our Marriage with myself and Clark Peters. It's a Black love story in the arts. And, we're getting ready to do season 4 of The Shy. And I can be found online at yolandaross.com. That's my website. And my name is spelled Yolonda. And it's the same on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. It's Yolanda Ross _creator.
Dehanza?
I am working on scripts more than anything else. So I am working on 2 feature scripts and editing up a project that Black Girlhood, that I'm trying to finish up. And you can find me on Instagram under my full name, Dehanza, and then on Twitter, Daye Rogers, and then my website is dehanza.com.
That is fantastic. I do appreciate getting some time to speak with all of you. I've had opportunities to check out some of your separate works and literally have loved every bit of it. I can't wait to see more and am thoroughly looking forward to what all you do. Thank you for sharing your time and your energy with all of us. I want to thank everyone that's tuning in to MechaCon. I am Victor Dandridge at Vantage In-House, the hardest working man in comics, saying thank you to everyone for joining us today and being a part of this great presentation. Thank you guys so very much.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right.